Hello, welcome to a very different forum video. I say very different. We've done this once or twice, really, haven't we? Myself and Geo, we're just doing our 5 yards video. If you haven't checked it out, go and have a look over on the main channel. We recorded that live last night as you're watching this. And while we were sat down in front of the camera, we thought, why not do tomorrow's forum video? And I said to Geo, what are we going to do it about? And he said, I'll tell you what, I've asked some questions on Twitter. So Geo's got some questions, and that's what we're going to do.
I do. Right, kicking off with Adam Brown. He says, which team has the most underrated season this season, apart from West Ham?
Underrated.
Yeah.
I guess underrated doesn't really take into account expectation. But you've got to drag expectation right back to... You can't count the first game. And I think once the first game had been played, the cat was out of the bag with Leeds. But I do think Leeds have been magnificent this season. They really have. They've been a breath of fresh air. It's quite funny, actually, because I believe there was a lot of clubs that we probably thought would do well. Everton being one of them. I'm not saying Everton done badly, by the way, but the way they started, you thought, oh, these guys could get a top 4 place. Also, I think Wolves as well. I know we're talking about who's exceeded expectation rather than who's disappointed. Possibly Aston Villa might be a contender, though, I would suggest, Geo, because last game of the season against us, they stayed up and they've not been anywhere near it all season. They've been, it seems, they've been top half and even at some points up near European qualification. So possibly Aston Villa might be a good shout.
I'm going to say Leicester City. They've been in the Champions League. They've even touched the top of the table, and they've been in Champions League spaces all season. And they've had a significant amount of injuries. Indeed, he's been out for a while. Vardy's been out for a while. The back, all their defenders have been out at some point. Their fullbacks have been injured. They've had so much injuries. And to remain there is, even to finish third is a really good achievement. But to do it with that much injuries is unbelievable. And you look at the form of Ian Atcho at the minute, and you think that's a top manager and a top club to sort of lose Harvey Barnes, lose James Maddison, and saying, well, what are you going to do? Where's your goals going to come? Simple, I'm going to switch formation. I'm going to get this guy in. I'm going to get him in the form of his life. And he's going to fire us on the way to the Champions League. So I would probably say Leicester City, actually. I do agree with your recommendations of Leeds and Villa, though. And they'd have to be on the short list. But I would probably go with Leicester, actually. Andy, if we drop to 8th at the end of the season, is it considered a good season or not?
Well, I think the parameters change if you go through the season. So I think, remove the context of the season, is 8th. If Andy is asking himself at the start of the season before he has any sort of joy and any experience of the team playing well and climbing the league, I'm pretty sure he'd say, well, 8th, I'll take that. Absolutely. Having said that, now having been, did we get as high as 3rd at one point? Possibly we did, but 4th at least, certainly. Yeah. Then you'd have to say that 8th would be disappointing. But so it depends how you view it. 8th is a good season. For West Ham, with the context of us just avoiding relegation last season, 8th is a really good season. But it would, against the backdrop of how well we have performed, and we have punched above our weight, because let's be fair, we're not the 4th best team in the league. We're just not. We possibly are the 8th best team in the league, so that would be a reflective position. But I can't help but think I would be a little bit disappointed with that.
Yeah, I can't disagree with too much of what you've just said there, actually. If you'd offer me in August, I'd have said, yes, please. Yes, please. That would be a fantastic season. And it's a really good season for us, especially in terms of building for next season and stuff. And I go into next season maybe hoping for finishing 8th again and going for the cups and stuff like that. And I don't fear relegation next season at this present point, which makes it a good season. But given the fact that we've been in and around European spots pretty much all season, I would be disappointed to finish 8th. It's funny, really, because 8th would be but 7th would be fantastic, because that just sneaks into European football. And it's only one position in the league, but it makes such a big difference because of the prize at the end of it. And in a way, if for whatever crazy reason 7th doesn't get European football, I'd probably say the same about 7th as I have about 8th, because it doesn't reward you with European football. So it very much depends on what your reward is. So it would be disappointing, but it would still be a good season. It's possible to be both, I think. I do think it's possible to be both. Now, Andy Walsh, a different Andy, says, have things got to change in the youth system to improve the flow of youngsters into the first team with a real chance of getting into the team and not just making up the numbers on the bench?
I'm not sure, Andy, things have necessarily got to change within the youth system. I think it is, if there is one minor criticism of the manager, it would be the way he doesn't integrate those players into the first team. So I do believe that there's talent there. I mean, there have been... Who's it that's gone on loan to Bolton? Is it... Elise? It's not, is it? It's
Mappa. Oh,
yes. Yeah, absolutely. Makapaka.
I can't remember.
He's gone to Bolton. Now, he played for West Ham earlier in the season, scored a goal, came off the bench, scored a goal. He's gone to Bolton. They're raving about him. They love him. He's one of their best players. And this is a feature at West Ham. This isn't something rare. This does happen. We do send players out on loan. They play very, very well and they feature well. So I think there's talent there. And we've certainly seen that. Just look at the involvement of youth team players in the last 4 years who have played in West Ham's first team. I don't really think that's a massive issue. Even look at somebody like Josh Cullen, and he goes over to Anderlecht and he's the captain over there. It's the mindset and the integration within the team. And I don't think there's much excuse now for not doing it, because you've got extra substitutions now. Now, I think there should be a pathway, and there will be a pathway into the first team. But I think what's happened is, and I feel this about the cups as well, we're either scrapping for relegation, so actually, every game's important, so we can't put the youngsters in, or you got it this season, and hold on, we're going for Europe, every game's important, so we can't put the youngsters in. I would like to see them feature more, bearing in mind we've got more. The bench is bigger. But Moyes has got to have the right attitude and want to put the players in there, because you don't ever feel, despite Odobeko being on the bench, you don't ever feel that he's going to get on the pitch.
I sympathise with Moyes on this, actually, because we are playing for European football. If we were doing a Wolves right now, which is just lingering in mid-table between now and then in the season, I'd be very disappointed if we didn't see the youngsters. I'd be saying, where are they? What are we playing for right now? And what's the point in seeing the same old? We might as well try something and have a look at players. But we can't afford to do that. We can't afford to take risks at the minute. We have to play risk-free. Now, there is one or two occasions it's annoyed me a little bit, seeing Ben Johnson come on for Mark Noble in centre midfield instead of Connor Coventry. That was one of the few occasions I thought, come on, Moisey, mate, you've done something here. And we've been losing in games, and, we've not put Odobeko on, and he's been the only striker on the bench, and you thought, when are we going to play him? But they have been few and far between, because I can understand why Moyes is reluctant to put the youngsters in there, because you don't know if they're going to cope. We saw Odobeko at Old Trafford in the FA Cup. He was a rabbit in the headlights. And the last thing Moyes needs or can work with is putting Connor Coventry on, and he does the same in a Premier League fixture where there's potential Champions League football at stake. The prize is too big, unfortunately, for the youngsters at the minute. And it's a shame, really, because 90% of the other seasons at West Ham, there's loads of opportunity come the end of the season to put the youngsters in. But this one season, we just don't have time. And they are getting on the bench. They are there purely to make up the numbers. It sounds harsh, but they are. There's no scenario that these youngsters are going to get on.
No.
But that experience of being on the bench will help them. We might not see it yet, and we might have to wait a while until we see it. But Connor Coventry, Mipo Odobeko, Frederick Alves coming over, them training with the first team day in, day out, being involved in the squad. Whenever you speak to like an ex-player of that, they always remember the first time they were involved in the first team and what manager took them under their wing and just let them eat with the first team. And it leaves a big impression on them, and it means a lot to them. So I do think they are benefiting. Could they benefit more by being on the pitch? Of course. But I just think with European football at stake, I can understand. If we were going to finish 8th, if we went to play Southampton in the last game and we couldn't get 7th, we were 8th, we're too far behind Everton, I would like to see Connor Coventry and that play from the start, really. Get Souček out. Say, you've got the Euros to worry about, mate. You sit down. You've done your bit for the season. Declan Rice, you've got England, no point. Don't risk you come out kind of thing. And I would put the youngsters out there and just for the sake of it, really. But I'm going to sympathise with Moyes on this one. Kane says, who would you like to see us buy next season if we get Champions League football?
Oh, well, funny enough, maybe go and watch our 5 yards video, Kane, because we've discussed this in depth there. It's not who I look. We've got a list of strikers that we quite like. Hlosek, we've discussed, and Nesri, and I do think there's legs in this Tammy Abraham rumour. We've discussed the central midfield and the central midfield targets, and there are a lot of them. What I do feel so. The actual names, I think, are less important than the composition of the squad. And this is really, I think, what's key. And that is that we have numbers, and not just numbers. We have numbers that David Moyes is willing to use. Because it's just no good him having players there that he doesn't really fancy, because he's shown he won't use them. We've just discussed Odebeko. We've just discussed Coventry. It's not just them. There are senior players that he's reluctant to use as well. So whatever happens, he has to be given his players. And I don't think we need to spend 100, 200 million, because I've said numerous times on this very channel, there are going to be clubs who are keen to get players off their wage bill. There are going to be loans and there are going to be frees. And I remember Geo doing his video about David Moyes' that room, Geo, where he had 3 separate targets, and an ideal one, a sort of freebie one, and one for the future, and this, that, and the other. And I would expect he has something similar up and running now. So he will have his list of his main targets, which I would imagine would involve some of the strikers that I've just mentioned and Jesse Lingard. And then he'll have 5 or 6 players on there who one of them can cover a number of positions, one of them's a left back, a central midfielder, and so on and so forth. And I would expect those guys to come in. So if we do qualify for Champions League, Kane, in answer to your question, I would like to see us bring in 5 or 6 players, and then some of them, 2 or 3 of them are going to the first team. The people who are in the first team will go to the bench, and then the remaining ones will sit on the bench. But the benefit will be they will be players that David Moyes wants to use, and he'll say, right, you're playing.
Interesting. I want to see the players that we want. The players we sign if we get Champions League football, I want to be the same as the players that we sign if we don't get Champions League football. I don't want to see the targets change, because that would insinuate. I'm aware there's a financial repercussion, but what I'm saying is we would just sign less players. Instead of signing 6 players, we'd only sign 3 if we don't have Champions League football. But if we want to think like a big club and be a big club, you can't lessen. You can't say, well, that guy is my number 1 target, but we don't get Champions League, I'll accept my 4th choice target. You can't do that. You've got to still go after your number 1 striker, Champions League football or not, because that guy is surely the guy that's going to then get you goals to get into the Champions League.
I thought you were going to say that guy is Shirley.
Could be. But that guy is surely going to be the guy that gets you into the Champions League again. I don't want us to see us watering down the quality of our targets, if you like, because of a lack of European football. Sure, they might not want to come. We saw that last summer when we went after Fofana, and he said, no, thank you. And Leicester City came in, so we got Europa League. He went, I'll go there. And he's trying to be a top player. Yeah. So we might not get the one we want. But this is where last season, David Moyes didn't really have time. He had a bit of time. He came in November, so he had adequate time. But he also didn't know what league we were going to be in. He didn't know we were going to be in the Premier League or Championship. So he almost had to have 2 different lists then. And say, well, this is my Premier League list and this is my Championship list. I understand that he needed that. But this time around, there's almost no excuses now to have not done your due diligence. If he's going after a striker, I fully expect us to know if that guy even wants to come to West Ham. We can't do what we've done in January, which is bid for Nesri, and Nesri saying, I don't want to come to West Ham. And we're going, yeah, well, 30 million. I don't want Tarkowski last summer. I am not moving to London. I don't want to come 30 million. I do not want to come 31 million. I don't want to come to West Ham. 31.5 million. I don't want to see that again. We can't have that saga again. We need to be in. We saw what a big difference it makes. We got Lingard in a decent time in the transfer window. We saw the massive difference. In the summers gone by, sometimes we've moved fast. We've got our main man in. You get embedded in, especially with the Euros around the corner. There's a good chance the person we want will be playing at the Euros. You want him signed before he goes off to that tournament, which isn't very long. But I expect us to have those targets lined up, ready to go kind of thing. Champions League, no Champions League. It doesn't make a difference. Premier League and Championship, huge difference. Champions League, Europa League, no difference as far as I'm concerned.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, we'll call it a wrap on that one. Thank you very much for sending your questions, one and all. I've got to be honest, it's meagre pickings at the moment. Don't forget, obviously, West Ham are not even playing this weekend. So it's going to be slim pickings all throughout the weekend. There's something that you do want to discuss. Please do put it in the comments below. You've probably seen me wearing my T-shirt as well. Do you know what? I just spun around then and pulled this cord. Can you see it? It's not. It's frayed. Declan Rice T-shirt. Hopefully you can see that.
I won't wear one.
No, he won't wear one. hammerschat@gmail.com. If you'd like to get one, £17.50 plus postage. Ouch. And packaging.
We've got a new mug design next week.
We have.
I sent it to you last night. It's really good.
Different to this one.
It's been done by Canning Town Lion. So we've
sketched it.
Yeah, it's a real good design. We had an idea for design. Said, Lion, can you do this? He said, yes, I can. He's done it, and I'm looking forward to it. This should be here next week.
That'd be good. And anyway, we'll show you it. We'll flash it to you. Obviously, we won't flash that to you. That would be very, very wrong. If you've not subscribed already, please do hit the subscribe button. And don't forget to join us tomorrow. See you then.